Cate Blanchett, thanks for talking to 7:30.
Pleasure.
Some of the scenes, some of the most powerful scenes in this movie don't have any dialogue. When Carol and Therese lock eyes for the first time, it is love at first sight. Do you believe in love at first sight?
Gosh. Well, first of all, I love those moments on stage, on screen and in life when you dispense with language, when you sort of transcend it in a way. And certainly the experience of falling in love, I think, defies words, which is why poets, painters, musicians, actors have tried to describe that feeling. Writers have just, tried to put words to that. I don't know that Carol or Therese fall in love immediately. They are certainly intrigued with one another. But the thing, it's so easy to forget because is that there's no language around the love that the two women feel for one another. They don't neatly fit into any subculture. So there's no community around and therefore no dialogue or language to describe the feelings they have for one another. And I think that was the compelling thing. But also in a way what made the love they felt for one another quite universal is I think when you fall in love, whether you're heterosexual, transgender, gay, lesbian, whatever, straight, you feel like it's happening to you for the first time. And I think that's what Todd's really captured.
Who is the heroine? Is it Carol or Therese?
Well, it's a Patricia Highsmith universe, so there are no real true heroines in any sense. I think it oscillates.
What do you do on Sundays?
Oh, nothing in particular. What do you do?
Oh, nothing lately. I mean, if you'd like to come visit me sometime, you're welcome to. At least there's some pretty country around where I live. Would you like to come visit me this Sunday?
Yes.
If the story had been set in current times, girl on girl...
girl on girl, well, there you go.
Girl on girl, older woman, younger woman, would it be a big deal?
Somehow, I think it is still a big deal. I think even if the film had been made 10 years ago, I think the prism through which the audience would have viewed it would have been much more politicised. What's been interesting about talking about the film to the media is that people are still interested, whether can you play a gay character without being gay? It still somehow has to be your one's sexuality if it's seen to be outside the mainstream, which same-sex relationships still are seen to be. I think you still have to answer to that. But yet I think the power when people actually see the film and forget all of that stuff is that falling in love is falling in love.
Would Carol Laird be the kind of woman that would campaign for same-sex marriage?
No, I don't think so. I think that she's... Because she is a Highsmith creation, her internal machinations, and that's why it's so thrilling to play, are very, very private. And often, I think her motivations are quite hidden from herself. And the thing that I found quite heartrending about the characters is that they are incredibly... Forget their gender. They're very, very isolated. As women, their identity is very prescribed in the 1950s, as the identity of the male characters. And I think it speaks to a very quiet, restrained, private relationship to one's identity and sexuality, which is very different from perhaps entering a more politicised debate.
On the politicised debate, if Malcolm Turnbull is re-elected as Prime Minister next year, the Coalition has promised to take the issue of same-sex marriage to a referendum, and that was something that was locked in under Tony Abbott. What do you think about the idea of every Australian having their say on that?
I think it's great. I think referendums are fantastic as long as the question is phrased in a way which is not meant to deliberately confuse or confound people. The interesting thing for me about the debate about same-sex marriage, quite aside from the film of Carol, is that it's one of those issues where it has no impact on anyone apart from the people that it impacts upon. So I find it quite bewildering that it's so complicated for people.
The internet almost blew up this year when you gave an interview about this film and you'd said that you'd had...
Wouldn't it be nice if the internet blew up? We would all have a long holiday. We'd be able to think really long-range, deep thoughts that are not sort of based on gossip.
Well, it's sped life up, hasn't it?
I know. The emoji still doesn't really speak to the complexity that actually or the subtext that goes on between when people actually speak face to face.
There's no room for nuance.
No, there's no room for nuance, but also it used to be. I mean, I'm old enough to remember. You're probably not, but I'm old enough to remember the days when you spoke to one person from one outlet, and that was the conversation. But now what happens is you speak to people, and what you say gets translated, into Portuguese, then into Mandarin, through a German prism, and then back into English, and bears little to no resemblance between, to the exchange or that you initially had with the journalist or to what you originally said.
Well, the internet blew up because...
Did it blow up?
Nearly, apparently. You'd said that you'd been in a female relationships, and that was interpreted as a same-sex relationship.
Heaven forfend.
How did you feel about that?
I just thought it was really silly. I mean, I was asked by a journalist, speaking to what we were saying earlier, is that, I couldn't possibly have played someone with feelings towards a woman unless I'd had those feelings myself. No one asked me when I played Mary Mapes, journalist, how many years I'd actually worked for any newspaper, had I gone to journalism school. No one asks you those questions. But yet when you play someone whose sexual persuasion is front and centre, you have to have lived and breathed that. So I think I was just pointing to the ridiculousness of the question, which the journalist actually got the irony, but then obviously the internet doesn't. It really is of no relevance what my sexual persuasion is. It shouldn't be.
In the past, you have been involved in some political issues. You were involved in the 2020 summit. You were also criticised for fronting campaigns for doing something about climate change. Mm-hmm. Does the criticism give you pause for thought to reassess getting involved in political things?
No, I think it's the climate change issue was quite. I think when something is apolitical and it gets politicized, then it's incredibly disappointing. It's that famous age-old thing of playing the man rather than to avoid dealing with the issues. And it's. I feel like it went dormant because it was politicised, but it's by necessity. I mean, look what's come out of Paris. Something has to be done, and it's far bigger than me. And I think that campaign was hijacked, and so in retrospect was probably a misstep, And I can just see the outtake of that. Cate Blanchett says she made misstep. Being involved in any way in highlighting the need to act upon what's happening to our planet, I wouldn't hesitate to do it again. I don't think many parents would.
Cate Blanchett, thank you very much for talking to 7:30.
Thanks.